Nordic Tales and American Trails is an outdoor and hunting podcast focusing on tales and trails from Northern Europe and the USA, hosted by Eric Rodin from Sweden and Adam Wood from Louisiana. The podcast covers all aspects of the outdoors, with a special emphasis of hunting with dogs. We will explore the unique tales and trails of our region, the various dog breeds used in hunting, and the differences in hunting practices between the USA and Northern Europe.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, good morning.
So, man, you got some interesting stuff planned today.
Yeah. Some stuff happening here, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, what is it? You said you had some moose shooting?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we talked a little bit earlier on the episodes. Here in Sweden, for hunting's license, you need to do a moose shooting trial, where you basically shoot one bullet on a standing still moose, and then the moose is gonna start running along a track, and then you're gonna have to shoot one running shot, and then it repeats the other way. So you shoot 2 shots going left and then 2 shots going right. And most hunting teams here has that demand for you that you have to do that yearly. So today I'm going to meet up with my hunting team, and we're gonna basically talk shit, talk stories, and do some shooting for 3 hours on the shooting range.
Okay, yeah, nothing wrong with that. I gotta get to the range myself, man. Hunt season's coming soon, and I gotta make sure all my stuff is sighted in.
Yeah, and I think like where I'm hunting currently, it's more that like get together, talk with each other, make sure everyone has their gun actually sighted in, and all that. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it this year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, hunting season's creeping up on both of us, and for you, I mean, it's right there. For me, it's kind of just playing on the weather, really. I guess with hunting season, something that's on my mind that I kind of wanted to ask is, with this current hunting season coming up, do you have any highlights from the last one that you that are at the forefront of your mind?
That's a good question actually. Like currently, I'm so focused on this year, but like definitely last year, I can't go without saying like I did 10 days of hunting in America, right? So that's definitely gonna be, yeah, it definitely was like a hunt of a lifetime for me. So that's obviously up there, very, very high. It was an amazing time. Other than that, like last season was kind of not struggling in a sense, but like so our moose quotas last year was very, very low. So on the property I hunt mainly about 4,000 to 5,000 acres. We normally have between 3 and 5 mooses to hunt each year, which is about the normal amount in this area of Sweden. So you get maybe 1 to 2 adults and 1 to 2 calves per 2,000 acres or something like that. But last year we only got 1. So we basically finished moose hunting the first 2.5 hours on the opening day, which was definitely challenging in a sense that, well, normally we hunt the whole week. Normally I even hunt maybe 8-9 days in a row in the start. So, but like I knew that beforehand, so I reached out to a lot of buddies and friends. So I basically did a lot more traveling the opening week than normally. So
What about the wild boar? You had any good takes on wild boar?
last autumn for us it was very, very wet. So like all the normal areas where the wild boars would be were basically underwater, or not that bad, but like a lot of the times here, wild boars will be close-ish to a lake, maybe hiding in the thickets that's around the lake with leaves, trees, and all that. But like most of those areas that was close to lakes was underwater, so the wild boar were not for at least the first 2 months where you normally had them. Uh, yeah, you will have areas where this thickets is often daybed for the wild boars and all that. But like that was definitely a challenge, and it was definitely fun. So I hunted a fair bit with a friend of mine that actually owns a fair bit of property himself. And that was, I think, that was the third day of our season I was there, and we had like that property. They only hunt it once, 1 day per month. They do like 4 to 5 hunts for the whole year, and then no one else hunts the property at all. That has started to be a bit of the norm here. When you have bigger properties that you control yourself, so to say, simple because you go in, you want to shoot plenty of games, and then you basically let the forest be relaxed without disturbance too much.
Yeah, yeah. We try to do the same over here. It's just, man, when you have such limited areas, I try to at least give a spot a week, you know. Um, just because we don't really have that many different areas we can constantly hunt, and we hunt. We at least try to hunt a couple times a week, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I think the opening day there, which was like day 3 of the season, I think we sighted. So how we count sight is like we don't different. So it can be the same moose that goes by 2 or 3 shooters. Then we count that as 3 moose sightings. Just so like people. So I think we had like 18 moose sightings and like around 35 or 40 boar, and then a few roe deers and all that. So like that opening day was amazing.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, so y'all are kind of keeping track by cameras, game cameras, or is that just actually seeing them in the woods yourselves?
Well, when we're hunting, we just see them ourselves from stands and from dog handlers as well. But like most properties these days, if you have wild boar in the area, you're gonna have a feed station or a feed plot. Might be the English term for it. You basically have a setup where most these days they gonna be solar power, and it's gonna spray out corn a few times per 24 hours.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that we kind of have the same thing, except that's not really how we set it up for the dog hunt. So most of those are because that's typically your deer hunters, that are gonna do their still hunting, sit in the stand and waiting for the deer to come by. So they don't typically like to let us freely run our dogs there. So typically for the houndsman, we have to kind of cut loose just in what we believe to be populated areas and try our luck, so to say.
yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna get a question to you for in a little bit. I'm just gonna finish this because like so most of the time, so what's coming up next is gonna be brown bear season. And to bait the brown bear, you have to have permit from the. I'm just gonna say fishing game. It's not called that here, but if I say that, then I think everyone understands what kind of agency I'm talking about. Uh, So then you basically have to apply for a permit to have a feed set up for brown bear. Uh, and previously, we haven't been allowed to let the dogs loose at the feed station. You could use it to like get pictures of a brown bear, and then you could try to find the brown bear's track a few hundred yards around it and start hunting from that. They've changed that now, so now we can, even on brown bear hunts, start at the feed station. But what's normally the case is so here, wild boar season here starts a whole month for dogs. Starts a whole month before we can actually hunt moose and other games. So what I do if I'm hunting anything in that time frame where my dogs are only allowed to chase wild boars, I'm gonna start at the feed station that I knew had the visitation a few hours ago, and then I'm gonna with a leash track the wild boar for a bit, and then before I let the dog loose to try to minimize and mitigate any chances of my dog changing and chase something else than a wild boar. But I wouldn't do that if I had other dogs. I think the reason I'm doing it with Lily, my older Russian European Laika, is that simple fact that she has for 7 years never changed off hunting a wild boar to another game, but she will definitely change from like a moose or a badger to hunt wild boar. So like I'm very sure of myself on her that if I let her go on a wild boar track, she's gonna do everything to just try to find that boar. Even if a moose crosses the track before she pays up the game, she's most likely not gonna swap to the moose.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So that's kind of like her favorite game, you'd say.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um,
Yeah, that's cool, man.
she definitely. Uh, I'm not. I'm gonna lack the term here, but like she definitely chases after a wild boar longer. For a wild boar, she can easily go 3,000-4,000 yards after it. Like if she bases up, so she gets good connection with the game or with the boar, and then the boar takes off, she's gonna try to follow it for at least a few thousand yards.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of a strange term that we use over here, but at least for hog hunters, and I don't know if this is the same for bear hunters over here, but the term for a dog that will or the distance that it'll stick with the game itself is the amount of bottom that dog has. They'll say this
oh
dog
yeah,
has a lot of bottom, and that just means they'll stick with that game for a long time. So just a little fun fact I wanted to throw in there.
oh yeah, that's cool then. So Lily's bottom for a wild boar would be a few thousand yards, but her bottom for a moose would be maybe 1,000, 1,500 yards, and then she's gonna let go,
Okay,
return to me.
that's interesting. You think it's kind of just a little less interest in moose, or is it like a? Because I know like some situations like a dog can be traumatized by something that happened.
No, I think, and I've seen the fact of that as well. She just thinks moose is a little bit more boring.
Yeah,
They're,
yeah, I
the
know a lot of them feed off of that
yeah,
aggressive nature of the wars.
yeah, and I think especially when it comes to Laikas, I think at least a lot of them they get triggered by like the fight part of the
Yeah,
hunt. Like the best moose baying she has had is on like an angry cow that will just try to chase her, protect her calf, like everything that a moose cow should do when being chased by a dog or a wolf. So like an aggressive moose cow like that, she will definitely stick longer with. So yeah, I think it's just cool in that sense.
yeah, I think that's pretty cool too. And I mean that I think that's something that differs between the Lycas and the elk hounds, right? I think the elk hounds are more they have a little more fun just baying.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
I think both the Swedish and the Norwegian elk hounds, like they're just, and they also like, so for the last, I would say from 1950, 1960, so the last 70 years for both those breeds, they've only been bred to hunt moose, like nothing else. The last few
right.
years, you obviously had wild boar creeping in and maybe some lines that tries to focus a little bit more on brown bear, but like 98% of the breed is just hunting moose. And then you compare that to Lycas that we, most of the time, if we shake on Russia, where you hunt martin, moose, brown bear, capercaillie, black grouse, wild boar, squirrels, uh, and
Right,
everything
right.
in there between them as well, right? So the elk hounds are just so focused on the moose. Like uh, you can take a 8-week pup and like you can walk over a deer track and it doesn't even care. But if you walk over a moose track, it's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, some very, very strict breeding there. And I love that. It's I think that's something we don't have here in America because the elk hounds are certainly very, very different. But I think that's for I actually have a potential guest in mind that we may be able to have, so that could be a good conversation for another episode.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should do like an elk hound special where we have a Swedish guy that's have hunted, maybe even with both with Swedish and Norwegian. I have a guy in mind for that as well, and then we quickly follow up with one from America or the other way around. And I think like because that's a breed that's even smaller in America than the Lycas,
Yeah, for sure.
and like I know for the fact that like not a lot of them actually does hunting. Now, as you said, there's a few guys in America that uses them for hunting as well, but I've seen plenty that's just dog shows, dogs and all that.
Yeah, I mean, at least 80, could be 90% or of elk hounds in America are definitely dog show type dogs, which is a little disheartening, but we all want us houndsmen like dogs to be used for the purpose that they were bred for, right?
Yeah, and I think it's especially these days and age than during COVID and all that. Like people got dogs and dog breeds that they were not really prepared for, or you. I think we all seen like someone getting a husky or something like that, like a sledge dog, and then living in an apartment, and then starting to ask questions why their dog is shredding their whole apartment apart when they're alone and haven't gotten that will to run full speed and pull something. And it's definitely the same with hunting dogs. Like especially now, like my older dogs now, they look at me funny in the morning when we only take a short walk or something like that. Like they can feel the cold air in the breath in the wind. They want to start hunting now, and now they're like getting the ick to hunt, same as me. But during summer, like they're not that annoyed to not go hunting. But now when it's starting to cool down, you can definitely feel they're like, okay, it's time, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. They're smart and they pick up on that, that repetitious nature and yeah. So they can get with the routine pretty quick. I know Kylo, like one of the weirdest things that we talk about all the time. Kylo, who's uh my 2-year-old Leica right now that stays in the house. If I put on a certain pair of hunting pants, he expects us to go hunting. It's hilarious. He gets all wired up and obnoxious, but
Yeah, that's funny. My Gimli is if I unlock the gun safe, he just gonna lay outside the gun safe waiting until I pick up the gun.
yeah, yeah,
Just
it's
making sure
amazing.
just making sure like you can't get to this without going over me, so then I know you can't leave me behind.
They're so smart. They're
Oh yeah.
really smart, man. But yeah, I don't want to. I'm sorry if I got too much into a different tangent. But you had a question for me.
Well, that's a good question. What was my question? Oh yeah. So when you wild boar, do you only like I know you, but so you can answer for yourself and what you think is like the norm or
Mhm.
what to say. Like, so do you only free cast or do like? So I was in USA hunting black bear, and the norm there would I'm not gonna say norm, but like a lot of people would use strike dogs like mounted on top of the pickup truck, which is so unheard of as a Swede because we're not allowed to use any kind of motor to help us hunt. So like, do hog hunters use strike dogs in that sense as well, or do you free cast more?
So that's definitely something that is done by a lot of hog hunters. I personally don't do it hardly ever, and if we do, it's typically by accident. So, um, what the type of hunting we call that here in America would be rig hunting, where like you said, you'll drive down a road with a dog kind of tied on top of the dog box that has a real good nose and will just start barking whenever they catch the scent, right? Uh, in our case, like say I'll go with my Leica and my partner Dom will go with our cur dogs. Well, we have a cur dog named Daisy, and a couple of the other dogs will do this as well, but Daisy in particular is well known for this. And if we're riding on the boat and she starts opening up, then you know you're on, hogs are in the area. So sometimes we'll do that kind of by accident, you know what I mean? But personally, I try not to do any of that. I generally just free cast in some good sign or where history has shown me that they have some wild boar. Um, so the rig hunting, we don't do hardly much at all. But like you said, in America, it's pretty commonly done. It saves a lot of time, and I understand it. But I kind of a big part of it for me that's very exciting is like the complete silence and the effort you put trying to pick up on a game. You know what I mean? When nothing's going on, you're starting to get a little tired and wondering if you're ever going to get on anything. Then all of a sudden it happens. That's a super exciting feeling for me. So I try to keep it as, I guess you could say, natural as possible. But I mean, I understand both methods, right? But so yeah, so for me personally, it's a very very rare occasion that it'll happen.
So basically, uh, a big thing that feels a bit weird for me. So I think I'm gonna lead this conversation towards a bit of cars and all that. So uh, the whole rigging part. So don't the game just learn to stay away from dirt roads then? Like, I mean, a brown bear or a wild boar they're smart games. Like, should aren't they not just gonna learn to not get close to the roads?
Well, I guess that depends a lot on how repetitively you're hunting the same roads, because it's a little harder for me to answer because I don't do this type of hunting myself much, but I would say that they're not typically, the hunters that are doing this aren't typically hitting the same exact spots over and over and over, right? And also on top of that, a lot of these dogs are winning these game, even though they're catching the wind of it. It's surprisingly far, like how far the game can actually be from where we are. Because I know Daisy, she wins them from, I mean, many hundreds and hundreds of yards away off the boat, while moving full speed.
Oh
Um,
yes,
yeah, you would think that would be the case, but again, it could just be a situation where they're just giving it enough time in between that the game is still crossing the road.
yeah. Yeah, and then so I'm just gonna quickly. So here in Sweden, and I think Norway and Finland as well. Like as soon as so like it's a bit your legal terms, but like as soon as the hunt starts, we're never allowed to use a car or an engine, and you can't even use an e-bike or something like that. You can't use anything with an engine in it in any shape or form help you with the hunt. So, for example, if we're hunting with my moose team, we're two dog handlers and 8 shooters maybe for a day, and then one of my dogs goes. So, for example, Lily picks up a wild boar, and then she's off those 3-4 thousand yards, and she might leave the property and all that. If I then most likely I will try at any cost to avoid to drive my car and pick up a dog, but like if they're getting close to a dangerous road or something, like sometimes you have to like do it anyway. But like I try to stay away, especially with young dogs. I will wait a good few hours on a log, forcing the dog to backtrack all the way back. Like I never want to teach a dog to that I'm gonna pick the dog up with a car, because basically as soon as I start my car, my hunt for that time is done. Like if I go and pick up the car and I drove back, then I'm just gonna have to wait until the rest of the hunting group is done. So if that would be in the morning hunt, then I might have to wait a few hours before their morning drive is over, and then we meet up for lunch, and then I can hunt again with them after lunch. But I can't pick up a dog, drive back, and let the dog out again, or even another dog. I was very clear for that before going to USA that I had no feeling whatsoever to like road hunt or to rig at all, because I want to hit those forests and mountains with my boots on, so to say. I definitely think the whole way that you can road hunt and rig hunt and all that, I think it's a very good way to keep uh, older guys going, and then if someone has a disability, they can still be a part of the hunt, right? So I think in that sense, I think it makes sense for me. But like, it's so deep pushed in you that you never use a car. Like one of the days in Virginia when we were hunting black bear, we actually let Laikas out of the car and we rode it up. I think maybe 1,500 yards or something, like the last part of the dirt road up the hill. We road hunted the Laikas, and I almost felt like sick. Like I felt that I was breaking the law in a bad way. Like even though I know it's like 100% legal, but like it felt so wrong.
Right, right. I mean, I can understand that. Once I became like a part of social media, again, like I started hunting with squirrel dogs, and I know when I first started seeing people road hunting with squirrel dogs, it kind of was the same thing. It felt really, really odd. I've gone my whole childhood just putting miles and miles behind these dogs because and just to see that that was an actual way to hunt was just super weird for me. So I can understand that that's even multiplied even by more for you, you know. Just most of the places here where I live, you can't even, there's nowhere to even road hunt. You know what I mean? That's not even, it's very rare you can find a place over here to be able to do that. Now you can do some of that off a boat, um, if you have dogs to do that, but it's still just not the norm in my area for sure.
Yeah. So in your area, would you mainly hunt with a boat? Like, would that be the normal for
I,
you?
I'd say it's probably about 50-50. Uh, the best places probably are by boat, you know. These, you know, as you know, the wild boar like to be close to the water as possible in wet environments, and so these marshlands and stuff like that is just perfect environment for them. Um, so our better spots are by boat. Unless I'm squirrel hunting. If I'm squirrel hunting, then of course squirrel or rabbits. Really, there's a lot of spots I don't go by boat on. You know,
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So now it's your turn. Like, do you have anything from last season that you're like holding in very high regards?
my last season was kind of messed up a little bit because of professional reasons. I had a job that was kind of hurting my hunting quite a bit, um, which I'm currently in a bit much better situation now. Uh, so I wouldn't say last season, but right before last winter, probably close to this time, um, I took Kylo in, I guess he was about 16 months old, and put him on a feeder with some hogs, and he had bait up. That was his first, I would say, official hunt. You know, I did a lot of training with him, which I'm sure later on we can probably do a whole episode on just our training methods because you know like you said in the last episode or the previous one before that, that y'all don't really, you're more of just hunting the dog and there's not much training. But with Kylo, I did a lot of training with him. And so right before last winter, I put him on a feeder with, they had some fresh boar there before we showed up. And sure enough, he took one. He baited up not far from the feeder and then went another few hundred yards and bait up a second one. So we took two of them with him on his first hunt. So that was pretty awesome. And I got a little nervous because I went pretty much almost that whole winter not being able to hunt because of my job, you know. This past March, April was just phenomenal. And my profession switched and things went well. I had a lot more hunting time and we ended up taking, I think just in April, we had 20 wild boar taken between my partner and I. I'm not going to say there's anything specific, but it really cranked it up for him, you know, and he made two in April. So I think he's on a pretty good track, you know, for his age. So I'm really excited and he's my focal point right now. So, and as we discussed, he's the first Leica I raised from a pup to specialize on wild boar. I've had Leicas for many years now, since I was 14 years old. But again, this is my first one that I actually specialized from start to finish on wild boar. So I'm very excited for that. And yeah, not to go too far off track, but that that was the highlight for me. And we have other dogs between my partner and I. We have cur dogs, and they're all doing super well. And just like I said, that March, April, we just all the dogs did super well, and it was just a fantastic time.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like for me, like the first 2 to 3 years of a dog is like when you buy a so here you buy a puppy. Um, you have researched the bloodlines. You looked at hunting trials. You looked at dog shows. You talked with different breeders. And here with Lycas, like there's that not that many liters per year born. So like you might have to talk to a few guys, and then you really try to get a dog that you believe in, and you feel like this is gonna be good. And then so for me with Sarah now, our 7-month-old West Siberian Laika, like she's on paper probably the best dog I have owned, which is exciting, and I'm very happy I got the chance to get her, so to say. But like you study those hunting trials, you study dog shows and all that, and you feel like, and then to see if your hopes and dreams might be at least a little bit true the first years when you're starting hunting a dog, I think that's amazing. Now I still have big hopes for my 3-year-old Russian European Laika. Like she definitely showed some of her colors. Last season was the first part was very very wet, and then we basically just got a shit load of snow early on. I think last year was probably the shortest hunting season I've ever had. So in that sense, none of my dogs really got to push themselves last year. So this year I'm going all out. Starting now in August, we're gonna do brown bear, and then I'm getting a visit from our mutual friend Darren.
Yeah,
Pet.
yeah,
So Darren is coming over to hunt some moose in September. I have some more really exciting wild boar hunts lined up as well, and all that. So like this year, I'm gonna try to hunt for 2 seasons, basically.
yeah, yeah. I can't blame you. I want to ask you too. Is there a certain type of how would you say title or phrase that you would give to a dog, like based off of the stage they are at in their training or hunting experience? For instance, like if a dog for us has no experience at all, it's just green. If they kind of know what the game is that they're after and, you know, have been to the woods a little bit, it'd be like lightly started or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
To you know, a dog who's completely trained, we consider finished. Do y'all have like those kind of terms or?
Eh, but don't think we really use those terms in a sense. Like I definitely understand what the terms. So I would say Daisy, my 3-year-old now, is lightly started. But like here, it would basically be if you have a dog that's older than 3, maybe 4 years old, and it's a purebred like Elkhound or a Laika or something like that. Like you don't really talk that. Oh, it's a finished dog. Like you just look at the paper for the dog. So any hunting trials or dog shows here is public for everyone. So if you know a owner's name or the dog's name, then you can just search it and you can read any hunting trials, any dog show scores. So basically, you have a pup, a young dog, and then you're gonna have a dog that's untested when it comes to hunting trials, or you're gonna have if you get 3 hunting trials for moose, for example, with the highest score, then you get the moose. What can the English term for be like hunting champion for moose? That's basically our way of probably saying then that's a Finnish dog would be when they're a hunt champion for
Okay.
X game.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
so that's like our whole judgment system of that would be based on basically on our hunting trials, which is definitely not the same in America. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, when it comes to champions and stuff like that, we do have competition type things. I don't think there's any. I take that back. There are things for wild boar, but there are like bay pin type things that are. I would imagine over there would be very controversial, which is just a wild boar in a pen, and they're judging how the dogs bay them up. And it's not woods or anything. And there's like points based off of certain criteria of how they're baying, which doesn't necessarily or and may not even be good for a woods hunting type dog, you know, because I know people that hunt wild boar that have dogs that they use just for bay pin competitions and dogs that they use for the woods and hunting. So it's kind of weird because you can have a bay pin champion that may be a useless hog dog in the woods, you know?
yeah, I don't know. So we would have similar here as well. But you would have it more like a training for young dogs. And our pin would be maybe I don't know the rules, but so I was on a moose area or a moose pin or pen training my dogs earlier this summer, and I think those fenced in areas is basically maybe 6-7 acres at least, and then the dog is in an own fenced in area as well. So like the dog will basically bark through a fence on a moose towards the moose, and then like
Mhm.
the moose is taken to the fence by basically giving food or a fruit or something like that. Um, but we don't judge that on the moose. You can judge that on wild boar. So wild boar is a little bit different. Then the dog can actually be with the wild boar. But most of those fenced in areas will still be like 6-7 acres at least or bigger, and they will have to try set it up. So some areas will be thickets, some areas will be more open. But you can get like a diploma, but it's not an official diploma. The only, I think the official diploma we can get in a pen like that would be on brown boar, sorry, on brown bear. For me and for here, I think you would use that to like. So you said that you're like, and now Kylo there, you want him to focus on wild boar. So that would be a way for us to like. You would maybe lay tracks with a moose skin or with a wild boar skin, and then you could go to one of those pens to like trying to teach dog like this is the game we want you to hunt. But like not many people would actually try to go there and think that, oh, my dog performed well in the wild boar pin, it's gonna hunt wild boars in the forest. We would use it more like a way to basically test the dog. And for me, it's a safe way for the dog to get exposed to a game in a way, and I can judge that if the dog is ready or not in like a little bit at least before I start pushing them on to the forest. So for wild boar with my Laikas, I try to stay away from very wild boar thick areas for the first at least 1.5 years old. And I think you said that Kylo was like 16 months old before you got the first wild boars for him.
And yes, that's correct. And I actually, it's following advice from another buddy of mine there in Sweden that I took a little while before I actually put him in the woods. But my training method was pretty much similar to what you said. I exposed him to many, many wild boar tracks, skins. I showed him a couple of his first dead ones that I've taken with other dogs, stuff like that. And then I eventually, when he was old enough, put him in a pen just to get his baying confidence up, stuff like that. But yeah, and I do think that's where the pen kind of originated, was as a training tool, but has now kind of evolved into like a competition in it of itself. It's kind of a big event
Yeah, yeah,
just by itself. But yeah. It's about 16 months old is what I was aiming for. As far as taking him where I decided, that's when I'm going to start officially hunting him. And I kind of did the same thing you said. I was taking him to just woods around the house that there are no wild boar in there, just to familiarize himself with multitude of different terrains and get comfortable with that. You know.
yeah. Yeah, so I think we have very similar views there, and I think that's something we're gonna try to talk with a lot of people. Like, I know there's definitely two camps. Like, one of those that you want to start a dog as early as you can, especially in America. I think when you can hunt a very young dog with the older dogs, and like, obviously you're gonna cut a little bit. The dog is gonna learn faster. Like, if a young dog follows their like idol, which is often the case, like you have a puppy that's 7-8 months old, and you let that dog go with the older dogs, like that puppy is just gonna follow the older dogs around, and then obviously it's gonna pick up. Oh, they're only chasing after this scent. That's cool. I'm gonna follow them. Uh, but I think to get a really good Nordic style baying dog, you should do the way you did it and the way I'm trying to do it as well. Like, do it with these. Like, I know it's I struggle. I'm gonna struggle with this whole season, right? So Sarah now, which my West Siberian, she's soon to be 8 months, and I let her go here last week, and like she just took off. Like, the drive in that dog is something I haven't seen in any of my other dogs so far at that age. But I'm gonna try my very very best to not hunt her too much this season, um, especially on wild boar. But like, I know I'm gonna struggle with that because in a way you want to get going, right? You want to get started. You want to see what you have. But like, there's I know so many dogs that you start early and then they get scared, as you said, for by a moose or by a wild boar, and then you might have to struggle with the same dog for a few years before they basically even start hunting the game you want to hunt again. So I rather try to take it a bit slower. Um, but I understand both ways. Like it's definitely fun to get out there and start going early as well.
Yeah, well, there's kind of a process here that I don't really subscribe to, just because I'm kind of more of like, I bind with the dog a little more than most traditional American hunters would. A lot of traditional American hunters won't allow themselves to bond with the dog until they've kind of proven to be good. So there's kind of a mindset of the ones that don't make it just don't make it, and you keep the ones that do make it. But if you're following the way you and I do it, you're putting a lot of investment into one dog, at a time. It kind of forces you to be a lot more careful with the way you approach it. And you want to increase those odds for that dog as much as possible. Now, that's not to say no matter what, they still won't make a dog. Sometimes that happens, but the odds are much, much higher doing it if you really focus on one dog doing it the way we're doing it. And sometimes that affects the way you might be hunting with your friends, stuff like that. It's something I struggle with a lot because, as you know, here we hunt together, with other hunters a lot and other dogs. So by trying to do it this way, which is a whole different style than most American hunters are used to, it kind of brings up a natural conflict of, well, we don't get to hunt each other because you want to hunt your dog by himself and stuff like that. And it's taken the wrong way sometimes, and it's not very easy to do. But I do wish a lot of people could kind of see the way the outcome can be if you really put that much effort into just focusing on one dog. And
Yeah.
not that you and I just have one dog, but one dog at a time until certain time periods.
Yeah, and like that's something I struggle with here. Like, so Daisy is 3 years old now, and then I now got Sarah, the 7 month. Like, my idea was basically wait 1 year more or so before I'm getting the second or a new dog, because I want to focus on Daisy. Before I kind of wanna don't have more than one dog that's like less than 3.5 years old, because I want to focus on that. And if last season didn't, so basically we got to 3-4 feet of snow in the start of November, and then we had snow until like March. So like, yeah, our season really, really got cut short here. But like, yes, that's something I struggle. But I also think like, do you think we're not gonna dive too deep into this now? But like, do you think the price of a puppy affects that American style? Because for reference here, like a purebred Laika here, that's $2,500 at least. Uh, and like even any purebred hunting dog will be at least $2,000. While I know in America, like a puppy is a lot cheaper for even like purebred known good dogs. Do you think that's part of the reason, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's 100%, not 100% the reason, but 100% part of the reason, because you can for $2,500 you can get a whole litter of some mixed up cur dog, hound, whatever, and just try it out on hogs and keep the ones that are good, right? So it is kind of easy in that sense, but that culture is kind of changing a little bit, especially with social media. Yeah, I could say it's changing, but at the same time, the social media makes the advertising so much easier. So maybe it's hurting it a little bit too, but it's changing in the sense that people are getting really good dogs, and the ones who are doing it the way we're doing it and focusing on certain individual dogs and putting the proof out there that these dogs are doing what they're doing, they're able to ask a higher price, which I think is super important and necessary. I think if we're gonna do like focused breeding and hard work with our dogs with proof behind them, I think the price should be higher. I think it's kind of sad because there's probably a lot of dogs who are not given the chance that they need, because not every dog is an early starter. So I think by increasing that price of the pups and almost forcing people to put more time and effort and honestly more strategy into their training methods, then that would be good for the dogs in general. Not only the dogs, but also the hunters, of course. You just have better dogs out there and available for you.
Yeah. And I think that whole like focused breeding, I think that's the biggest benefit of hunting trials, right? Because you have a dog here, and then you have a what do you call it, like a bystander. Like the judge can't be related to you. You can't know the judge beforehand, and like so someone comes with you and judge your dog, or you go to that person's area. Like it's an it's an outside view of how that dog is actually doing. And
Yeah.
here, like you can't do a hunting trial with more than one dog, right? So you like uh I heard stories here. Like, I'm gonna dive into this, but like, so someone goes to America and they buy a plot hunt, for example. That like the plot hunt had been on several, maybe 50, 100 black bears chases, right? But it's always hunted in a pack, and then it gets here and it has to hunt alone, and like it misses so many pieces to like do the whole hunt themselves. And I think that's a downside of the pack hunting, um, and all that. But that's definitely a different topic. So I
Yeah,
think.
I think that's a whole episode on its own that I'm actually really excited to get into.
But I think we're closing up here on 50 minutes, man. I think we should try to wrap this one up. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good conversation, and so
Oh, yeah, definitely. So thank you for listening. Have a good day or a good evening, wherever you're listening from. And thank you for all the feedback we're getting. Both me and Adam's been getting messages, and like that just fills your whole body with joy. It's very fun. Please like and share the podcast. Try to get anyone you think is interesting in our conversation. Share them the podcast. Try to help us get the word out, so to say. And have a good day and a good evening. Take care.
thank you, everyone.